My in-laws were drunk, and even though people nearby were whispering to each other, my in-laws didn't seem to care. They kept shouting at me, saying, "Well, I guess it's too late since you're already married, but if you want to be part of this family, you need to show us you have enough money." Then they added, "Yes, your dad is right, so make sure to give us $1,000 a month as a new bonus." Their words shocked me. I couldn't believe they would say such things at a wedding reception. I just stared at them, my face turning pale. My dad took the microphone away from them and said firmly, "Enough is enough. Don't you realize you're embarrassing yourselves? My name is Linda. I'm 30 years old and work in an office. I'm dating Larry, who's 32, 2 years older than me. We met through a friend who was worried about me being single, so she introduced us. After dating for a year, Larry proposed, and now we're getting ready to get married soon. I lost my mom when I was very young, and my dad raised me all by himself. He worked really hard to make sure I had everything I needed. Losing my mom, who I loved so much, hurt me deeply. Because of that loss, I was careful with my feelings. That's why I hadn't really dated anyone since school. I even thought it might be okay to stay single forever. Then I met Larry. At first, I didn't have romantic feelings for him, even though he asked me out many times. Larry was always caring and a true gentleman. Gradually, I started to open up to him, and we began dating. He continued to be kind and attentive, and I felt really happy with him. He became so important to me that I started to imagine a future together. When he proposed, we decided to get married. Larry understood me completely and was always supportive. "Don't worry if you're uncertain about something. I'll be here for you until you feel better. I love you, Linda. You can always rely on me," he would say. His words touched me deeply. He promised to make me happy forever. Just being around him made me feel warm inside. If he cared so much for me, I knew I wanted to do the same for him. When I told my dad we were getting married, he was so happy he cried. "Wow, Linda, you're finally tying the knot. I'm over the moon for you," he said. "Oh, Dad, you're being so dramatic," I teased. "I never heard you talk like that before. I used to worry you might never settle down," he admitted. "Really? I had no idea you were concerned about that," I said. "Well, every dad worries about his daughter, you know. Anyway, congratulations," he said warmly. "Thanks, Dad," I replied. It meant the world to me to have his congratulations, especially since he raised me on his own. I could already imagine us both tearing up at the wedding, especially after seeing him so emotional now. With that, Larry and I began preparing for our wedding. Juggling our jobs kept us incredibly busy. Weekdays were filled with work, and weekends were all about wedding planning. We hardly had any downtime, our schedules packed to the brim. On a rare day off, we were scheduled to visit Larry's parents' house. It would be my first meeting with them. After Larry proposed, he had already met my father. Initially, I had planned to visit his parents soon after, but due to our busy schedules, it took some time to coordinate. As we pulled up to his parents' house, I started to feel nervous. "Don't worry, my parents are really kind," Larry reassured me. His words helped calm my nerves a bit as I reached out and rang the doorbell. It was his mother who answered. "Mom, I'm home," Larry announced. "Welcome home, Larry. It's so nice of you to come," his mother greeted warmly. As they exchanged words, I greeted her politely. "Nice to meet you. I'm Linda, Larry's fiancée," I introduced myself. "I see, so you're Linda," she responded, her tone noticeably colder than with Larry. Her smile faded as she gave me a scrutinizing look. She then led us to the living room where her distant demeanor persisted. "Linda, I'm curious about what you bring to the table. Larry is our treasure, our only child. If you're going to marry him, you must be suitable. Are you worthy of him?" Her words felt more like an interrogation than a conversation. I was taken aback by her directness. I hadn't anticipated such a chilly reception from my future mother-in-law and struggled to find a response. "Remember, you'll be joining our family. Are you prepared for that?" she pressed on. While marrying Larry did mean becoming part of his family, I couldn't understand why such high expectations were being placed on me. It's not like Larry's family was some prominent or influential dynasty. Moreover, I wouldn't even be living with them. I disliked feeling pressured with these kinds of questions. As I pondered how to respond, Larry's mother grew impatient with my hesitation and scolded me sharply. "When I ask you a question, answer promptly. You're being rude," she snapped. "I want to know if you're ready for this," she insisted, her voice rising. Feeling overwhelmed, I managed to reply, I hope that Larry and I will support each other in our marriage." Her response was dismissive. "That's such a naive thing to say. Your job as a wife is to support Larry. You clearly don't understand the basics," she criticized. Larry's father, sitting nearby, intervened. "Honey, please calm down." "I apologize, Linda. I hope you weren't too upset by my wife's words," he said, trying to diffuse the tension. "It's okay," I replied, trying to maintain composure. I figured Larry's mother was just protective of her only son and might have spoken hastily. Just then, Larry's brother entered the room. He spoke softly and kindly, which momentarily eased my nerves. But any relief was short-lived. With a smile on his face, he said something unexpected. "What my wife says has some truth to it. What concerns me is that you come from a single-parent family," Larry's father stated. Confused and taken aback, I asked, "What do you mean by that?" "Well, being raised by just one parent doesn't have a good public image. We can't exactly be thrilled about someone from such a background becoming our son's wife, can we?" he elaborated. "Wait a minute," I interjected, unable to ignore his comment. "What's wrong with being raised by a single parent? My father worked incredibly hard to raise me alone. I'm grateful for my upbringing and proud of my father. Growing up with one parent doesn't diminish my worth." They continued to argue. "Because you were raised without a parent, you may not have learned how to be a good wife, manage household chores, and so on." "I helped my father a lot with household chores," I replied firmly. "I can also cook pretty well, so please don't say that," I insisted. Despite my response, Larry's parents ignored me and went on to say, "We'll allow you to marry Larry, but in return you must promise to prioritize us because we are Larry's parents. Can you promise us that?" "What?" I was shocked by their demand. "Since you're here asking for our permission to marry our son, you must understand your responsibilities, right?" Larry's parents continued without giving me a chance to say more. Feeling sidelined by their dominating conversation, I reflected on the evening and decided to discuss my feelings with Larry. "Hey Larry, do your parents always talk to people like that?" I asked him later. "What's wrong with how they talk?" Larry seemed unconcerned. I was surprised that Larry didn't see any issue with how his parents had spoken to me. "I mean the way your parents talked to me and what they said." "Oh really? They were just discussing whether you're ready for marriage," Larry replied. "I understand they're concerned, but I felt like their comments were a bit too much," I explained. "Really? What do you think they said wrong?" "They've given us their blessing, so let's not dwell on it," Larry assured me. "Yeah, you're right," I conceded, but I couldn't shake the unease that Larry seemed to side more with his parents than with me. It bothered me deeply. Sensing my uncertainty, he pulled me into a hug. "Linda, you don't have to worry so much. My parents are just a bit upset because their only son is getting married," Larry reassured me, though his words didn't entirely comfort me. "Everything will be fine. They just want what's best for us. They want us to have a strong marriage like they do. That's why they might have come off a bit harsh." "I see," I replied, trying to understand his perspective. Maybe his parents had high expectations for us, but I still couldn't shake off the feeling that it wasn't right for them to criticize me because of my upbringing with my father. Marriage should be about us, not just their approval or disapproval. With this in mind, though I was still a little hurt, I decided not to dwell too much on his parents' judgments. Then the wedding day arrived. We had many guests, from relatives and friends to colleagues and bosses. Walking down the aisle with my father, who had raised me single-handedly, was a deeply meaningful moment. Larry and I exchanged vows and rings, surrounded by applause. It was then that I truly understood I was marrying Larry. I felt a joy I had never experienced before. As we entered the reception hall, we were greeted by the lively crowd and videos celebrating our journey together. It was a joyful atmosphere. I caught up with friends I hadn't seen in a while, and we received many heartfelt congratulations. Despite my earlier concerns about Larry's parents, I was happy we had chosen to marry and create such a memorable day. After the ceremony, we planned to officially register our marriage, becoming husband and wife. Every moment felt cherished, and I was filled with happiness. As time passed, we moved on to the final part of the event. The bride, groom, and both sets of parents lined up to greet guests, but I started feeling uneasy about Larry's parents. They seemed unsteady on their feet, their faces noticeably flushed. It was clear they had drunk too much. Some relatives even asked if they were all right. Despite their condition, we needed to finish the ceremony and move forward. As the moderator handed the microphone to me and Larry, a sudden tension arose when Larry's mother forcefully pulled my hand away from his and spoke to me in a harsh, commanding tone. "Linda, listen to me. After this wedding, you are going to dedicate yourself entirely to us. Get ready because we will test you rigorously." The guests began whispering among themselves, some thinking it was a joke and laughing. Larry's father then took the microphone. "Linda, aren't you ashamed to wear a dress like that? It doesn't suit you at all," he remarked. "Dear, you should tell her the truth," Larry's mother added, and the tone of the whispers among the guests shifted. I looked at Larry, hoping he would intervene and stop his parents' rude comments. Instead, he said he couldn't do anything about it and didn't think his parents were in the wrong. It became clear that he would not protect me from his parents in the future. In that moment, amidst the buzzing hall, I realized it. I was certain of it. My in-laws were drunk and continued to insult me. "Well, you're already married, but if you're going to be part of this family, you need to prove that you have enough money," they said. "Yes, that's right," they continued. After you register your marriage at the city hall, you should give us a few thousand a month and your entire bonus." I was shocked by their words. I never expected such demands at our wedding reception. I stared at them, feeling my face grow pale. My father intervened, taking the microphone from them. "Enough of this. Don't you realize how inappropriate this is?" he said firmly, but still maintaining respect. Larry's parents glared back at my father. "Why are you interrupting us while we're talking?" I knew this woman's father was no good. "Single parents are never any good," they retorted. I was furious at their insult toward my father. My father, staying calm, responded, "You're even worse than I thought. You refuse to meet me just because I'm a single father." I never expected such behavior from people associated with President Scott. I assumed his employees would be more decent. This seemed to catch my father-in-law off guard. How do you know President Scott?" he asked, his expression turning serious. "He's a business partner of my company and, more importantly, an old friend of mine," my father clarified. "And on the topic of single parents, President Scott himself was raised by his mother alone. So your comments have inadvertently insulted the president of the company you work for." As my in-laws' faces fell upon hearing my father's words, it dawned on them the seriousness of their blunder. "I apologize, sir. Please don't mention this to the president," my father-in-law pleaded, suddenly dropping to his knees. Just moments earlier he had been assertive, but now he seemed defeated. Laughter erupted among the guests, some even recording the scene on their phones. "Apologies can't undo what's been said," my dad responded firmly. He came over to me and asked if I wanted to leave with him. I nodded, taking the microphone from Larry's hand. "Thank you all for the entertainment, but there will be no wedding," I announced firmly to Larry, his parents, and everyone present at the reception. "I will ensure that the money given for this occasion is returned." With those words, I left the hall with my father. I glimpsed Larry and his parents looking dismayed, and soon their relatives rushed over, wearing concerned expressions. The atmosphere must have been chaotic. As I returned the money and apologized to the guests, they expressed sympathy and praised both me and my father for our stance against such unacceptable behavior. They commended us for not allowing ourselves to be taken advantage of by such individuals. Later, word spread among Larry's colleagues who had attended the reception, tarnishing his reputation due to his parents' unreasonable actions. He faced criticism for not standing up to them, and the embarrassment was so profound that he chose to resign from his position. As a result of the incident, the president of my father-in-law's company learned about what had transpired. Larry's father faced consequences. He was demoted and relocated to a less significant division in a remote countryside office. I heard that Larry's family faced ostracism from their relatives due to the fallout from the wedding. It's regrettable, but ultimately their actions led to these outcomes, and sometimes such consequences are unavoidable. In the meantime, I've been using this opportunity to strengthen my relationship with my dad. We've been spending more quality time together, and it's helped me appreciate all he's done for me even more. One day, he sat me down for a serious talk. "Linda, have you ever thought about taking over the business?" he asked, his expression a mix of hope and seriousness. "Are you suggesting?" I began, feeling a bit uncertain about where he was leading. "Why don't you work towards becoming the president of my company?" he proposed. It was a significant proposition, and he seemed to believe I was ready for the challenge. "I'll do my best," I promised him, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. I made a decision to prioritize advancing my career at my dad's company rather than getting involved in romantic relationships for now. My goal is to prove to myself and to my dad that I can excel and perhaps one day become a great leader like him. Currently, I am fully immersed in learning everything I can at the company. The work is challenging yet fulfilling, and I'm determined to seize every opportunity. Reflecting on the chaos of the wedding, it's clear that Larry's parents were unreasonable, turning what should have been a beautiful event into a spectacle. Thankfully, since the marriage wasn't legally finalized, I avoided a potentially costly mistake. Now, without marital ties or looming in-law issues, I can focus entirely on pursuing my career ambitions. It's a relief to have found a clear path forward from such a tumultuous situation. I'm optimistic about the future and excited about the possibility of leading the company. I wish myself all the best and hope that those who hear this story can find something meaningful in it. Thank you for following along until the end. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the future.